Tragedy in Nashville, Tennessee. One student is dead after a school shooting, 2 others injured. Now, the 17-year-old shooter is reportedly dead after turning the gun on himself. That shooter is said to have opened fire in the school cafeteria, killing a young girl. Metro Nashville police say that the shooting happened just after 11 in the morning, their local time. Antioch High was on lockdown and frantic parents rushed to the school.
I want to see my child because this day your child can leave from home and then a little bit they told your child die.
Well, both federal and state agencies are assisting in this ongoing investigation.
Let's take you live to the LA bushfires now. They have re-erupted just outside the city. Of course, this is being monitored by authorities, but it does appear to be out of control. Firefighters are tackling this in this area, as I say, just out of the city. The blaze is burning at a rate of more than 12 hectares a minute, so it is fast moving. That is the equivalent of 23 football fields. And of course, it has prompted a fair bit of anxiety in the city and mandatory evacuations once again. We will keep a very close eye on that for you. These are live pictures coming from Los Angeles.
Happening today, President Trump is ordering all federal employees in diversity, equity, and inclusion roles to be placed on paid leave by tonight.
This is according to a memo issued yesterday to the heads of departments and agencies. They've also been ordered to remove DEI websites and cancel all training related to the initiative. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt provided this statement to ABC News. President Trump campaigned on ending the scourge of DEI from our federal government and returning America to a merit-based society where people are hired based on their skills, not for the color of their skin. This is another win for Americans of all races, religions, and creeds. Promises made, promises
kept. What they're
kept.
doing, these executive orders, they are going to kill children. Children are going to die because of the choices that they made.
Fear, anxiety, and outrage after President Trump signed an executive order Monday, his first day in office, declaring the federal government will only recognize 2 sexes, male and female.
I believe that it is a cynical use of disinformation to distract people from the real problems in their lives at the expense of our kids.
The executive order states, quote, "It is the policy of the United States to recognize 2 sexes, male and female. These sexes are not changeable."
It could reinforce that there's something wrong with you. You are wrong. Terms like abomination, sin. But hopefully, what I really hope it says to transgender youth, there's some very ignorant people in power.
Amid all the uncertainty, some parts of this executive order are already being implemented, like passport and travel restrictions and shelter access. Ben Klein, an attorney for GLAAD Law, has challenged policies like this in the past and says many of these orders could be in court for years.
We do have significant legal precedent interpreting federal laws in ways that protect transgender people. Obviously, courts will now be ruling in the context of these federal policies that Trump is trying to implement, but the EO cannot override a court's interpretation of the law.
Other aspects are more opaque, with federal policy confusion and a divisive, unclear legal landscape state to state.
The real impact of this order is the kind of fear and chilling effect it's going to have. It is going to create confusion, chaos, fear for transgender people.
That's why advocates say this executive order and the many more they expect to come will be a rallying call for affirmative spaces, coalition building, and community-focused supports outside of the law and political conversation.
It's important for you to understand that you are not alone. There is support, especially in a state like Connecticut.
And advocates are bringing back the True Colors Conference, what was once the largest LGBTQ youth gathering in the country, this March.
We need to give our young people and those who support them a space to learn, to celebrate, and to reconnect.
And while all this plays out here at the state capitol, lawmakers are already responding to the Trump administration proposing protective and proactive policy. Reporting at the state capitol, Emma Wolforst, Fox 16.
The Laken Riley Act, you knew the House was going to be voting on it. They have passed it, Kelly. I will share with you and with our audience here. The Senate already did. It now goes to the president's desk where he is certain to sign it here. Of course, the Laken Riley Act, named after that Georgia nursing student who was murdered by an undocumented immigrant. Big picture, though, this is part and parcel, right? When you look at what Congress is doing, when you look at what the White House is doing on this long-promised immigration crackdown, if you will, from President Trump.
This is very much in line with the signature issues that he campaigned on, and now we're seeing action, in this case, by Congress, and this has been in many ways fueled by President Trump as a candidate and now in office talking about these issues. And there are those who believe very strongly that the law does look at how to try to make communities safer. And there are others who are concerned about how people could be detained indefinitely if they are suspected of these kinds of crimes. So it is always complex. There's a large support for this among the president's party, and certainly in trying to address the issues of immigration. We're seeing a lot of that activity right away through executive orders as well, where he is sending additional troops to the border. He is talking about the different ways that he can roll back some of the access to provisions of immigration that he is locking down. And then, of course, they're just sweeping changes almost department to department. And certainly that's something we're watching very closely.
Speech laws criminalising threats against racial or religious groups could pass as early as next month. Attorney General Mark Dreyfus says criminal penalties for hate speech could help combat anti-Semitism. The Australian Federal Police Commissioner claims foreign actors paying criminals for hire could be behind the nation's anti-Semitic attacks. State authorities say they were not aware of the Commissioner's intelligence, though, until his media statement.
It's clear that some people may be being paid to engage in these firebombing attacks on the Jewish community. It is not clear where some of those payments are coming from, and the Albanese government has not been clear about what they knew about this, when they knew about it, or what action they're taking.
I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now.
A passionate plea from a clergy person, not to God, but to Donald Trump.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now.
Bishop Marianne Edgar Budde used her time in the pulpit during the National Cathedral prayer service to ask for mercy for the marginalized from the 47th president. She said,
"There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals."
The bishop is the author of several books, including How We Learn to Be Brave, Decisive Moments in Life and Faith. She serves as spiritual leader for 86 Episcopal congregations and 10 Episcopal schools in the District of Columbia and 4 Maryland counties.
They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors.
Bishop Budde reminded those in attendance of the biblical command to welcome strangers by invoking the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, verse 34 in the Christian Bible. It says, "The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself."
Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land.
Afterwards, Trump told reporters he did not find the traditional inaugural interfaith service to be exciting.
I didn't think it was a good service, no.
The president blasted the bishop on his social media network, Truth Social, with the post that said in part, "She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. She is not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology." The Washington National Cathedral has hosted 10 official inaugural prayer services for presidents from both parties. Prayers were offered by clergy from multiple faiths, including Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, multiple Christian denominations, Sikhism, and an indigenous American elder. While they all asked for supernatural protection for America, none of the other faith leaders spoke directly to Trump.
I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here.
For a ceasefire in Ukraine, if Vladimir Putin doesn't come to the table to negotiate with you, will you put additional sanctions on Russia?
Sounds likely.
And do you think that the war should be frozen currently? Along
The war should have never started. If you had a competent president, which you didn't, the war wouldn't have happened. The war in Ukraine would have never happened if I were president. But that couldn't happen because the election was rigged.